Hi everyone, Mike here from Retro PC. Going to take a look at a flight simulator game today, one of my favorite genres. This is a Fly 2K. This is a special edition sequel, for lack of a better term, of Fly, which came out in July 1999. Fly 2K, of course, you guessed it, came out in 2000. There are other iterations and editions. There's a German edition, for example. There's a weird Piper and Cessna in San Francisco edition that came out around the same time. And then this series concluded with Fly 2 that came out in 2001. So a very short-lived flight simulator series, but one I want to dig into simply because I never did as a kid. And that kind of blows my mind that there are still so many flight sim genres or series out there that I haven't touched. So this is one of them. So let's check this one off my bucket list, my childhood bucket list, so to say, and let's take a look at it. One thing to note, this did get mixed reviews. It grabbed an 86 out of 100 from GameSpy back when it was released. It did get a 55 out of 100 from PC Player, which looks to be a German critic. I'm not sure what that is, but it just to show you, it was a little bit all over the map. But I mean, when has bad reviews stopped me from reviewing something that's really bad? I kind of like to review everything and make my own opinions. So let's do that right now. Let's check out Fly 2K. Alright, let's get this loaded up on the Compaq. Always loved it as a kid when games came with installer music. Pretty common thing for games around this era. And I gotta say, I'm kind of digging this music. One thing to note about this is the Fly 2K Jewel Case Edition, and as you can see here, it's showing screenshots from Fly 2. This looks to come out the same year as Fly 2, which was 2001. So just something to note there, that this is probably not the initial release of Fly 2K, but more of an aftermarket way of doing it with the release of Fly 2. So it's been a good 35 minutes, and we're at 78%. I did not think it would take this long to install, so just waiting it out here. Alright, so the install has finally completed. Took a good 45 minutes, which for a good flight sim, I usually find the longer it takes to install around that time isn't a bad thing. For example, Flight Simulator 2004 and Flight Simulator 98 all take a respectable amount of time to install. So I was thinking this would take around 10 to 15 minutes. I did not think I'd be sitting here for 45. So a little surprised, but I digress. We've done it. So let's just take a really quick look at the README that popped up. This is dated August 2001. Just has some installation information here. Call it who to contact for technical support if you have issues with install. It doesn't look like we had any issues with install, so let's just exit out of here. And let's go ahead and launch. Turn that down a little bit. So it looks like we have two options. We have Flight Planner, Fly Now. We also have, of course, File, Options, View, Windows, and etc. I do want to check out the options before we do anything. I gotta turn this down a little bit more. Let's look at the graphics. It took a good 45 seconds for this menu to just load up, so makes me really wonder what we're going to be seeing when we play this. So looks like it's preset for DirectX 6 compatible. Playing in 640 by 480. A complex scenery detail building. So it looks like we are pretty much on the higher end for specs. At least that's what it's pulling in. So I'm just not going to mess with anything. Let's go to the flight planner. Alright, so let's set up a flight. We'll go from let's depart from let's just see what it pulls up here. Awesome. There's Denver International. Let's just do Denver. Okay. And let's fly to, oh, let's fly to LAX. Doesn't seem to want to find that, so let's do Los Angeles. There we go. There it is. Okay. So this is definitely more amateur level, honestly more my level. Setting up flights in some flight sim games like Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's not the most straightforward task in some versions. I find it better in some versions than others. So the fact that we can just pick like this and not have to be going into that super realism in terms of how to actually log a flight is kind of cool. So let's just go ahead now and let's set up our aircraft. Let's fly, let's do a jet. So it looks like we're looking at all the aircraft provided in this, and we have a Beechcraft King Air, a Cessna, a Piper Navajo, and then this Hawker 800 XP. I am not an expert on aircraft. I wish I was. So I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm not going to pretend to know like I know what any of these truly mean, like what one Cessna is versus another. I don't know. Or what one Piper is versus another. I don't know. But that's what we have available to us. So we'll go with this. Go to environment. Just see what we have as options. We have some visibility options, temperature options, pressure options. We'll call it good. I want to jump right back to set up aircraft to make sure our pre-select, yeah, I want to make sure we get this aircraft. So let's see. One thing to note, I do have my Logitech Extreme 3D Pro hooked up to the Compact right now. It has been a long time since I've set this up, so I am hoping its plug-and-play features do work. If it fails, I will resort to the keyboard. I really don't want to, but I will if I have to. The real question is, how long is it going to take to load the actual simulator? Well, this is a good sign. That gauge there is moving and showing us its percent completion, which is really cool actually. I love that they did that. Alright, we should be jumping into it any second here. Alright. So we are in the cockpit camera. Absolutely no idea what it wants me to do here, but it is very dark, as if the plane is literally off. So let's just see what we can do here. So while I could get some lights to come on the plane and get the plane moving, I could not get it off the ground, but I could confirm the joystick works. So for the sake of simplicity, and because I want to review this and see how this plane flies in this simulator, we are going to just go to Fly Now and give this a try. So we're going to do that Hawker. We'll do defaults. Sure, let's just go ahead. You'll see we got some scenarios to pick from here. Ooh, let's do over LA Basin. That is what I want to see. I want to see a city. Let's just see what we can come up with here. Okay. Let's see if this joystick does not work. Alright, so I have us hopefully set up now with the joystick correctly. And we are flying over LA. And so far it now is responding. Wasn't earlier. Oh yeah, it's responding great. I think I did turn down a ton of visibility settings, which has helped a lot. I mean, the frame rate, obviously, there's a lot to be desired there. But it's at least playable now. And does respond to my joystick, which is great. I did turn off all realism I could for the sake of it running as best as it can on this PC. We're heading through the clouds here to get a good view of LA. And now LA is coming into view. Oh man, I don't know why. It does have a problem where if I let go of my joystick, I do a backflip, and this is just neutral right now, so that shouldn't be happening. Yeah, it definitely shouldn't be happening. Ah, I see what the problem is. There's another setting on my joystick that's causing a bit of an issue. So let me level that out here. The Z-axis should be adjusting throttle, and it looks like it's adjusting pitch, which makes zero sense. That was probably my fault though, trying to set this up. But trying to get that to stay level is no easy task. So my hope is now I can use these controls a little bit better and actually control the plane. There we go. Basically just set the Z-axis to neutral. Let's just see what other views we can get, if any. Well, it says it's switching view, but it never does happen, does it? One thing I'm noticing is there's no in-game menu that populates. What I can do is push this up and get kind of a view like that, you see? I can move the dashboard around in the cockpit, which is nice. It gives you a really great first-person view here, while getting that almost chase-like view in our box window here. Which, let me just take that down to see if we can get a better view. There we go. And now we're really flying. Hopefully not crashing. One thing I am trying to look out for is if there are any 3D objects on the ground. Which throughout LA there does not look to be, so far, anything that would resemble a 3D object in the city. And we are flying very close to the ground. You'll see everything is flat. I have this detail setting to normal, so I was really hoping to see something. I mean, this is 2000, so there should be at least some 3D objects. I will say with the new updated settings, this game is more than playable now, which is fantastic. I do feel this probably would run a lot better on a Windows XP machine, like my Dell XPS, or even maybe the ThinkPad T43, but that, it's getting into Vista again. That's got Vista on it right now. I don't know if that would play it well or not. I did try for the fun of it to load this in Windows 10, and of course that didn't work whatsoever. But yeah, it definitely is kind of unfortunate not to see better ground effects. And what I mean by that is, of course, 3D objects on the ground. But getting up and looking at it from more of the level, let's get a little bit higher. It's not bad. But I'm fairly confident that if you were to fly over, well, I guess that doesn't give it. I mean, this is 2001 with the jewel case CD, so I'm curious if Fly 2 has 3D objects. I think the next thing we need to do is we need to up the visibility, do a fly now, and really see if anything changes over the LA basin. So that's what we need to do. Let's look at that next. Alright, so we've basically maxed out the graphics, and I can tell already, at least from afar, the game still runs pretty good. So the Compaq is handling it well. We're going to get down to more of a level here and see what we can see in terms of the ground level and see if we see any 3D objects, which still, I would expect more. But again, we are right on the cusp of where the 3D ground objects started to come into flight sims. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised, and I really shouldn't judge it negatively on that. I think this would be a really fun game to explore in detail and do some real flights, considering I'd figure out how to get off the freaking ground. I would have to take a deeper dive into the manual controls. Because it wasn't too cut and dry how to do that. Plus, we probably have better chances now considering we have the joystick working. I think we need to give that one more true shot. Considering I think we got this out of the way, I'll fix the Z-axis and we'll see what it's like to take off. I want to try one thing. So we are extending the max mirror speed. Let's just see what happens with There is a 3D object right there. So they do exist. Right there. Of all things, it's like a oil thing. Let's see what happens when we crash. That's cool sound effects. I'm pretty sure I'm on the ground. Oh, I have flipped. I have flipped. I have flipped over. I am sliding on my roof. Oh, things are going nuts. Listen to these sound effects. Alright. That was awesome! Did not expect that. That was one hell of a crash. Okay. That was fun. Let's try the flight itself and set one up and see if we can make this happen. So I remapped the Z-axis to be correct. What I had done was mapped it as trim and throttle. Of course, that's on me. So you can't blame the game for having that bit of a problem. Probably why we were getting a lot of errors, because we were flying at half throttle through those last two sims. So let's go ahead here and set up what we had before. And let's arrive at, let's do Los Angeles again. One thing I wanted to make sure to do is edit the time of departure, because I don't want it to be dark. I think that was half of our problem. So we'll do 11:55. Afternoon. Should be just fine. So that's where we're heading. Looks like we're good there. Let's set up our aircraft. Pick the Hawker. However, it doesn't ever seem to let me have it. I still think I'm flying like the Cessna. We'll see for sure here. Let's restart. Alright, here we go. So, I was able to figure out engines and lights. Maybe turning off the brake. That's a typical button. See if I can get us moving. And we are moving slowly. So now, it's time to see if we can switch video at all. You know, it says it's switching the vehicle camera, but it never does. Let's see if we can get off the ground. Come on, come on. I'm having issues getting off the ground. I think I'm off the ground. It's hard to say. Oh, I'm going to hit the ground. Adjust my flaps. There we go. We'll put the landing gear up. It's not telling me anything that I'm doing. I am just going off of every other flight sim I know and using those controls, and it seems to be correct. One thing that's really making me mad though is changing view doesn't change the view. So that makes no sense. But we are in the air nonetheless. Something's beeping at me. I don't know what that is. There, turning my throttle down helped that out a little bit. I would say though overall, very responsive. I mean, I think it does need to be said that the joystick you use also goes a long way in terms of how well the controls are, and I will say that there are nothing but positive things about the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro joystick. It has never let me down. We are in the air. I really want to get some different camera views though. Yeah, it's just giving me some air. Like it can't switch for this flat position. So let's go like that. Hey, that's bad. We don't want to do that. C. So C is camera. So V wasn't doing it. Here we go. I'm not seeing a chase cam, but oh, yeah, that is awesome. Oh, stay up. Get off the ground. And I'm sure it's because my flaps are in the wrong position, but what are you going to do? I think they're locked, jammed, or whatever. But I think we're getting off the ground here. I don't know why I didn't try C to begin with. Yeah, my flaps are just completely jammed. There we go. Do a far away view like that. I could have some fun with this game. This is not the worst flight sim I have ever played by far. Oh, we are going down fast. I will say it's pretty crazy how you can crash and it doesn't lock up and just crash like Microsoft Flight Sim does. It just bounces you around like a rag doll, which is kind of crazy. I wonder if there's some sort of mode that's like non-invincibility mode where we could have more of a realistic crash. I need to scour the settings and find out. So let's do just that. Okay. Just a quick view of, wow, the scenery. It's definitely having an issue loading here, but let's jump to cockpit and take a fly around. Bring up our gear. And just see what we can see. One thing I love about like X-Plane, for example, is the plane will break apart if you experience too many G's, for example, which is crazy. I don't know why such a fan of carnage and wanting to see that kind of realism in a flight game, but I just find it to be so entertaining in terms of, you know, when it happens, trying to just get your plane to safety before you inevitably crash if something breaks off is quite the adrenaline rush. But most flight sims are a simulator for the experience of flight, and they don't take too much of an account into crashing for that very reason. It's just wasn't made for that. I don't see a single building, nor do I really see New York. There's definitely a chance that if this could acknowledge like a graphics card, which it does have some visibility or graphic settings to do so, that these graphic enhancements could reflect 3D objects, which I'm guessing is the case. I'm guessing the compact is probably not the best thing for the job. I mean, it's definitely experiencing some serious lag with this environment, you'll see. So, let's see if it detects collision and what happens with that. But before we do that, let's just see what happens with collision. So I know we're all wondering it. Let's see if that's realism setting changed anything. It doesn't seem to. Just bouncing off the ground. Oh, but my plane did just completely lose power. And that was not on me. I am still full throttle. I have no power, so I'm flying upside down right now. Basically just hopscotching my plane on a terrible frame rate. I'm definitely going to have to mess around with this a little bit more. Probably try it on some other hardware to see what it looks like. If I do, I'll definitely post pictures on Twitter of any major differences I do find. So if you're not following me on Twitter, I highly recommend that you do. It's easy to do. I'll have that at the end of the video. You'll get my Twitter handle there. That, in a nutshell, is Fly 2K. Very interested to try Fly 2 now, see what the upgrades were there compared to this one. I do think we're not giving this game a fair advantage in terms of hardware. Let me know if you ever played this game. I'd love to hear anyone's stories, thoughts on Fly 2K. Again, not a flight sim I experienced in the past, so it's fun to take a look at now. I do think that as I get more knowledge with this, it does seem pretty simplistic in terms of how to use it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.